Yeah, boys and girls, it feels like winter out there today. It is cold, it is drizzly, and I think they're saying there might even be a little bit of chance of snow in the mountains later on tonight.
Nice.
I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of snow. Would you, Chastity?
Just a little.
You know, because it was a warm December.
Yes.
Christmas
Absolutely.
was like 70 degrees.
It was awkward, yeah.
Out in shorts
Outside,
on Christmas.
yeah.
It's almost unchristian. So I'm looking forward to a little bit of cold weather here to make us feel like we're actually in the winter. Shout out to the Morgan County GOP last night. I got to visit the Morgan County Republicans and the Walton County Republicans last night. They both had packed houses, great speakers, guys coming in and running for their particular offices, making their case as to why they should be elected. What was really exciting when I went to Morgan County, they hosted at the Farm View. Have you ever been there, Chastity?
I haven't.
So it's a little place right off of I-20 and 441. They serve dinner there, but it's got a store. They've got all kinds of neat things that you can buy from Farm View. Liliana loves buying their quiche. They sell big old monster quiche.
Awesome.
Bring home and have some of that for breakfast. But they had dinner last night. They had their GOP meeting, and it was really refreshing to see how many people not only listen to our station, but listen to our show.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we got some great supporters out there. Yeah, great feedback. A lot of fun.
Awesome.
A lot of fun. So great visiting with everybody last night. Terrific show in store for us today. Young lady Julia Waldo, owner of J&J Pilates, will be joining us shortly. Alex Ortolano, he's a retired businessman, Vietnam veteran. He flew helicopters for the United States Army during the Vietnam War, so can't wait to hear some of his experiences. And then KJ Allen, he is a regional media mogul, and he's also a candidate for Georgia House 120. He owns a bunch of radio stations, Chastity.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So maybe if I get canned here, they can hire me over there.
No way. No.
All right.
That'll be fun.
I was reading a little bit of, there's a story that came out about law enforcement fatalities. And so I did a little bit of a digging, and there's an entity called the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund. And there's a lot of entities like this that have data and statistics on fallen officers. So I started to look at this, and I realized in 2025 in the United States, we lost 111 law enforcement officers. They died in the line of duty. That is a 25% decrease from the 148 deaths reported in 2024. Now, I think that's directly attributed to President Trump and his initiatives of being hard on crime, right? Zero tolerance. This is actually, it's a historic low. I mean, this is the lowest that it's been in decades. The leading causes of death, number one, 44 officers were killed by firearms. Followed by 33 traffic-related deaths. This might be a scenario where an officer is helping somebody that's on the side of the road and they get hit by a car.
Yes.
So it didn't really break down what the traffic-related deaths are, but that's somebody that, an officer that gets killed in the line of duty on the road. 33 fatalities in the other category, and that might include if an officer has a heart attack or a medical issue in the line of duty. So these are tragic. It always breaks my heart when you see these officers that have fallen. The average age of these officers is 44 years old. The average years of service is 14, and many of them left behind families.
Sure.
But this is why it is so dangerous when the climate is accepted that you have these politicians, elected officials, like the mayor in Minneapolis, that is being so hateful towards our federal agents. So far in 2026, 5 officers have been killed in the line of duty. Now that's an uptick. That's a 150% increase over last January.
Geez.
And so when you as an elected official begin to advocate and say things that are violent against our agents and our officers, you are supporting those initiatives to be aggressive and harmful.
Inciting.
You're
violence.
Absolutely inciting, yes. So I think it is incumbent upon every elected official, I don't care where you stand on this, be sure you watch your language and how you talk about our law enforcement officers, whether it's city police, the county deputies, or state officers, or Georgia State Patrol, or federal officers, ICE agents, and beyond. Show respect.
It's a no-brainer.
They're doing their job. Think about this, Chastity. They're doing the job that President Trump has asked them to do, and the people have elected President Trump because of his initiatives and because of what he was campaigning on. So these ICE agents are executing the will of the people.
Absolutely. And to stand in the way of that And to be in the position she's in is just disgraceful.
Well, the protesters, yes, absolutely. They stand in the way. They're obstructing these officers, but then the language of the elected officials coming out and saying vile
Absurd.
things.
Just absurd.
Just can't stand it. Makes me sick. Bizarre story. On December 13th, there was an Air Canada flight, and as everybody got on board this airplane, about ready to take off, as a matter of fact, this airplane was taxiing on the way to the runway to take off.
Wow.
And people started hearing screams. Did you hear about this?
I haven't.
So they start hearing somebody screaming from, they keep the luggage below and the
Right.
fuselage below. And people, they hear somebody screaming and banging and going nuts. So they inform the stewardess. The stewardess, they run down the aisle, tell the pilot, hit the brakes.
Abort flight.
Yeah, this is an Airbus A320 flight preparing to depart from Toronto, heading towards New Brunswick. 184 passengers on board, and they find out that what had happened is one of the crew members was assisting the baggage team, the luggage team. They were short-handed maybe, and he was inside the plane tucking away some luggage, strapping it down, being sure it's nice and tidy. They shut the doors on him, and what happened is they didn't have him in the head count because he was supposed to be doing something else.
Helping out,
Yeah, he's
right.
probably like a ticket agent or
Yeah.
something like that. Or maybe the dude that waves the little orange batons, tell him
Right.
so he's in there, hey, I'm going to help out extra day. Almost winds up a goner.
Wow.
And then they end up canceling the flight. I don't think that's a reason to cancel the flight. You kind of pull everyone off, recheck, take a
Right.
head count, get that thing back on its way.
Yeah. Huh.
But bizarre story.
You're just trying to get a free ride.
Marc McMain show. Check this one out. We've been talking about, you remember this sonic pulse
Yes.
that we heard used as part of the Venezuelan attack the other day?
Yes.
And it disoriented, basically just
detrimental.
yeah, made
Yes.
the opposing troops incapable of fighting back. So we had the eyewitness claims talking about there was people vomiting, people blood coming through the nose, passing out, rolling around, couldn't even fight back. So it turns out that maybe, just maybe, this is what some experts are pointing to is what they call the LRAD, also known as the voice of God. It's basically a targeted long-range acoustic device that directs sound. They use it sometimes for crowd control, where if there's a riot or something going on, they can use it to kind of disorient. But what they describe as the effects of this LRAD, or the voice of God, doesn't really match what the eyewitness accounts were in Venezuela, right? This LRAD is not really designed to create long-term physical harm. It's more designed to be painful, disorienting, maybe, makes it hard for you to hear and comprehend what's taking place. But if you remember the eyewitness accounts, if we're to believe them,
Right.
these people were flopping around on the ground, puking blood coming out of their nose. So we're kind of getting more and more about this. We're going to find out in the next couple weeks what device they're using. I'll be curious to see if Mitch has any clue. Mitch Swan, our good
Yes.
buddy, Colonel Alan Sims, if those guys have any idea what was actually used in that operation. And on a final note, check this out. For the first time in at least 50 years, more people have left the United States than entered. This is 100% thanks to President Trump's immigration policy, securing our southern border,
Right. Absolutely.
removing violent, criminal, illegal aliens, and then also putting extra barriers in place for those who do want to come in the country legally, to be sure we're bringing in the right people,
Absolutely.
to be sure that we're not importing criminals, that we're not bringing in people who do not want to participate in the American dream.
Absolutely.
That that the people that come here want to be part of what we're doing, and they don't want to just leech on to the American taxpayer.
And give back and
Yeah.
be involved in the community. So I
Well,
agree.
and some pundits now want to come out and say, well, this could have an economic detrimental impact, when it talks about weaker job creation. Look, I can't stand it when we constantly reference the fact that we need to bring in people to do our labor. I remember when I was 30 years old, and I was really struggling to find my path. I had sold my business, and I went to work for corporate America, and I was really having a tough time finding my direction. I remember responding to an ad in the newspaper. It was a landscape company that needed somebody to come to work, and I think at the time it was like it was either $10 or $15 an hour they were offering. And at that time, Chastity, that was great for me.
Sure.
And the babies, I think Liliana may have been pregnant with our first son at the time, and I just needed to make some money.
Absolutely.
And I remember going and interviewing for the job, and the guy says, "Hey, you don't really look like our normal guy." You know, I guess he meant, didn't look like a blue-collar guy. I don't know if I should take offense to that or not.
Yeah.
But I was willing to do whatever it took to make money. And so no job should be beneath anybody in this country.
Not at all.
You have to roll up your sleeves and do what we need to do. But the idea that we need to have open borders or keep importing people to do our jobs, that's not the right angle on this.
Right.
Now, I do support there's initiatives for the ag industry to bring in people to work in the ag industry during particular seasons. The farmers need that. I support those initiatives. But what I am a fan of is being sure that A, our borders secure, B, we're getting rid of those violent criminals who have entered this country illegally, and C, being sure that anybody that comes in this country wants to be part of the American dream. Yes, we want you to come here to work. We want you to come and make money. But let's be sure you're doing it the right way and that you fit what our country needs.
Continue our same values.
Absolutely. Continue with our values. That's
Yes.
right. Great way of saying it, Chastity. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. When we come back, young lady Julia Waldo just opened her business, J&J Pilates in downtown Monroe, and we're going to hear from her.
AI now touches nearly every part of life, from writing articles to even driving cars. But it raises a deeper question. If we created AI, where did our intelligence come from? The Bible says it's a gift from God. He gave us the ability to think, reason, and make sense of the world. Some assume Christianity is just blind faith, believing something is true because the Bible says so. But that's not the case. Genuine faith invites tough questions. It engages the mind. As one pastor said, you don't have to give up your intellect to trust the Bible. You have to give up your pride. Real intelligence isn't just logic or knowledge. It's knowing the God who made you and loving Him with every part of who you are, including your mind. This is Bryant Wright. Really, Bryant Wright, not AI. Speaking right from my heart.
Seeking spiritual truth? Rightfromtheheart.org has resources just for you.
Looking for that perfect piece of jewelry designed just for you? At P&A Jewelers, family owned since 1976, we've been helping our customers shine for nearly 50 years. Now proudly run by second-generation brother and sister team, we specialize in custom jewelry design, expert repair work, and fine jewelry for every occasion. Visit P&A Jewelers, where family tradition sparkles. Located in Loganville beside Quick Trip, or online at shoppajewelers.com. Follow us on Facebook to see what's new.
Madison Flooring, located at 1167 Eatonton Road in Madison, is your full-service and professional installation center for all kinds of flooring, from tile, carpet, laminate, wood. They even do showers. They have granite and quartz countertops. All military, police, firefighters, and teachers ask for your discount. Madison Flooring is locally owned and operated. For knowledgeable and friendly service, call 706-431-5152.
Welcome back, Marc McMain. Our next guest is a young lady that I have known for years, so I guess I could kind of say I watched her grow up a little bit. Her parents are dear friends of mine, and I'm excited to have her on the show. Julia Waldo. Julia, thank you for joining us today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, tell a little bit to our listeners about you and what led you to Pilates and how you got involved in this.
Absolutely. I am a 22-year-old, newly graduated, I guess, young adult, and I just really have a passion for helping people feel their best and be their best mentally, physically, and spiritually. And I just felt led to do something where I could minister to those around me and also just help them become better and make something that's a true lasting change and difference. And so I knew that Pilates was something that I loved and had a passion for, and that's exactly what I wanted to do with it.
I've been to your studio, and it is very impressive. And again, for you being 22 to venture off and to take that step, that entrepreneurial step to do your own thing, that is a big leap. And so I want to salute you on that. It's not for the faint of heart, as you're probably discovering, right? There's challenges when you own a business, but there's also incredible rewards when you own your own business. What are some of the challenges that you face so far in this young venture?
Absolutely. Challenges are just trial and error. I mean, there are so many things that I just didn't know until I opened. And thankfully, we live in a phenomenal community, and everyone's just given me so much grace to just learn things. Like, we would come in early in the mornings and people would oversleep, and then we have instructors driving out to classes and no one comes to take the class at certain times. And, 5:30 a.m. can be tough. And then we learn things, okay, we need to make a policy where if there are less than this many people in the class, it doesn't make sense. And those are just learning curves, but as time has gone on, classes have picked up, and our early classes are one of our most popular, which is crazy because it's not me. I'm not a morning person, but our people love it, and they're dedicated, and they want to get it in before work, and it's really awesome.
What time is early?
5:30 a.m. So the instructors
Mercy.
are there around 5, so they're getting up around 4. It's a little crazy.
That is early. I'm not an early person either. Chassie, could you handle 5:30?
Yes, I've actually done it. So.
Have you really?
Yes.
Well, Liliana is also a customer. I know she's been to several of your classes, and she really enjoys it. What is it about Pilates that makes it unique from other types of exercise? I remember back in the 80s, it was aerobics was the big deal, and then you went through different phases. What is it because Pilates has staying power. It's been around for a while now.
Yeah. Pilates is over 100 years old. It's been around for a long time. It was actually originally used primarily in World War II, and they would attach springs to beds of injured veterans and would help them use the resistance to gain back their strength. So it was originally created as a form of physical therapy, and that's exactly what sets it apart, is that it has staying power, and it's not a trend. It's been around. It's going to stay around. But it's restorative to the body also while it can be a workout. And so it is a form of physical therapy. So it's good for, rejuvenation and helping you get back into things after an injury. But it can also be really, really good to tighten the core, as it's a full body movement. And it's a mental workout just as much as a physical one. And so you really work out the entire body inside and out.
You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. Our guest is Julia Waldo. She owns J&J Pilates in downtown Monroe. So, and I was going to ask you that for the specifics, if somebody that's never been to a Pilates class like myself, what can they expect? So the length of the class, is there like a warm-up period? Do you stretch out, or is actually the Pilates workout part of the stretching process?
Absolutely. So all of our classes are 50 minutes long. We have different levels of classes. We have a beginner class, an intermediate class, and an intermediate plus class. And so we have stretching designed throughout the workout, but just depending on your level of class would depend on how much stretching versus how much working out you're doing. For our beginner classes, it is very easy, relaxing on the body. I kind of say that it's like a spa appointment because you feel so relaxed mentally and physically when you're finished. And it is for anyone and everyone. It is made for people who have never seen a reformer before, who haven't worked out in years, and getting back into working out. Our intermediate class and intermediate plus is definitely more of a workout, but again, can be a beginner class if you need to, and we can always adjust you and modify based on what you need.
Yeah, so you can kind of, if you're going in one day and maybe your back is hurting a little bit or something, and you need to tone it down a bit, then you can customize it to fit each individual need.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what we're training for sure.
You used the word reformer, so I guess there are two different types of Pilates. Am I right in that? And what does reformer mean?
Yeah, so there's mat Pilates and reformer Pilates. Are very similar, but reformer is a machine that uses different springs, and based on those springs, you can add or remove tension, which can make your workout easier or harder. And so we work with those springs to create that. It's a technically strength resistance training workout. So not a weight training workout or a cardio workout, but a strength resistance training by using those springs.
Let's go back to it is. I've never done it. I've seen it. Liliana's given me feedback. So it's a great workout. She comes back. She feels like, she's really been worked out when she comes back.
Yeah.
I'll have to come visit because I've been down in my back a little. So just that core extra strength. Might have to.
Absolutely.
So when your back's hurt, that means if I move, I don't need to call you to help come lift boxes and help me.
I'm good now, though.
Well, you go to Pilates and
upright, but yeah.
You remember, you didn't hurt your back when we emptied out the radio station, did we?
Absolutely not.
That was a big deal. We had a bunch of boxes to move then. Julia, let me ask you this, because again, it's one thing to be interested in a hobby or a sport or like in this case here in Pilates. It's a whole nother animal to say, hey, you know what? I want to make this my career. There's a lot of people that sign up for martial arts. or they go to the gym, it never crosses their mind that they're going to make this their business. At what point did you realize, man, this is something that I think I would like to do as a career?
Absolutely. I went to Georgia College in Milledgeville, go Bobcats.
Yeah.
And I got into Pilates there, and I just saw the impact and the amount of people that were there and the people that loved it and the constant, just dedicated customers that were there month after month after month. And I knew that Pilates was not a trendy thing. It had been around for a long time. Even though it's hot right now, it has been around for a while. And so I just knew that with Monroe, we have such an awesome town with all ages and all people. And I was like, this is great, not for just for people my age, but for people younger than me, for people older than me, for my grandmother, for my mom, for my dad, for all of these people. And I just knew that Monroe was the perfect spot for something like this. And it wasn't something that we've seen before in our area. And that was really what inspired me to bring it to this area.
And that's what I love. It's for all ages, because there are some workouts out there that really, like you just said a second ago, not designed for, say, senior citizens, right? There's just the impact's too much, or the action, the movement's too much, especially if somebody's had hip, back, knee injuries, shoulder injuries. Whereas Pilates it's universal. And like you said earlier, you can customize it to fit almost anybody's specific situation and whatever they're trying to accomplish. And is it a misconception? Is it just for women, or do you have men who actually sign up as well?
We do have men sign up as well. It is definitely more women are our customers. I tell my employees, and they think this is funny, and I tell the guys that come in the studio, I say, men probably feel the same, or I feel the same way when a man walks in that a man feels when I walk into the pro shop at the golf course. Yeah. Like, you're absolutely more than welcome. And they're like,
what are you doing here?
But yes, but they're more than welcome. We love when our guys come. My fiance comes every day and loves it. So it's definitely for anyone and everyone, and we definitely try to make the guys feel at home.
What's next for you guys? So as you're getting this thing, you're still in the infancy of a business, is what I like to call it, because have you eclipsed a year yet, Julia, or are you guys less than a year old?
We are less than a year old. We will be 1 year old in May.
Knew we were close. Yep. What's next for you? What do you envision? If this keeps going and you're growing and you're happy and it's successful, do you maybe other locations? Is there an expansion plan? What are you thinking beyond this?
Yeah, absolutely. More locations. I mean, like I said, this isn't just for the body, but it's for the mind, and it's just been so healing, and just to see the impact of what it has made in our community, that's exactly what I want to bring to other communities. So my goal is absolutely more locations. It's one step at a time, and I want to be able to give my all to those locations. So it's, about taking it slow and doing it right, but that's definitely the goal.
One more question I got to ask you. Tell us about the dog, because I know when I went to your website last night doing the research, I know it's June. Is that the name of the dog?
It is, yes. Yes, June is my golden retriever, and I knew that whatever occupation I had to do, she was going to have to go with me because we were attached to the hip. And so J&J Pilates is named after Julia and June Pilates.
I love it.
Yes,
I love it.
And she is a mascot. She is there every time I am there. She has her dog bed. She knows when we're starting class, finishing class. She's the guest greeter. She loves to stretch in front of everyone. She just makes herself known at the studio for sure.
Julia, we are a country station, so tell the listeners the origin of June's name.
June is named after June Carter Cass, the one and only, and I'm a massive country fan, so that was a no-brainer for me, for sure.
That's fantastic.
Love it.
And finally, if somebody wants to learn more about you, how do they find you? Do you have a website? Are you on social media? And once again, tell the people where you're located.
Absolutely. We are located in downtown Monroe by Amici. We're about 2 doors down from Amici, in that gravel parking lot of the Cotton Mill Warehouse. You can find us online at j2pilates.com. You can find us on Facebook at J+J Pilates, and you can find us on Instagram at J2Pilates.
That's fantastic. Well, keep up the good work, and I can't wait to hear more feedback from Liliana. She continues to go there and stretch out and get great workout. So appreciate what you're doing to keep us healthy.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. It's Julia Waldo, J&J Pilates, downtown Monroe. Check them out. I know our listeners, love a good workout. Sometimes.
And it's all ages. I love that.
Well, especially a day like today. It's rainy,
Right.
it's cold.
Perfect,
You're probably sitting eating Doritos and
Doing
pizza,
some
which is what I'll be doing.
stretches, some core
Then you get in there,
strength.
get you
Awesome.
work out,
Yes.
make you feel like $1 million. So don't
Makes
wait
your
till
day
spring.
Feel better too.
Well, if you start now in January,
Yeah.
You're going to look good come
Absolutely.
swimsuit time.
Yes, you are.
That's it. Doesn't take long at all. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. When we come back, Alex Ortolano.
Are you looking for custom t-shirts, golf shirts, or uniforms for yourself or work? What about a family reunion, a fundraiser, or sports team? Whatever you're looking for, Chris and Debbie at Blue Hound in Monroe can help you. Real Country uses Blue Hound for our golf shirts and t-shirts. They do quality work and they're great folks. Blue Hound is located at 111 East Washington Street in Monroe. Go by and see what they can do for you or call 404-307-3664. That's 404-307-3664. Tell them April sent you.
Is technology giving you a tough time at your home or business? Don't worry. Big Mountain Computers is here to help. We're your local tech experts, now open in Madison. Our white glove service ensures personalized solutions for all your IT needs. Hardware fixes, remote support, private lessons, and more. Visit us at Madison Plaza across from Ingalls or call 706-343-4184 to schedule your consultation. That's 706-343-4184. Big Mountain Computers, turning your mountains into molehills.
When looking for new shoes, the place to check out is K&D Shoes in Conyers. Family owned and operated for over 30 years, offering one of the largest selection of shoes for men, women, and for the kids. From name brands like Ariat, Rocky, Georgia Boot, Hey Dude, and others. You'll find everything from casual to work boots all under one roof. Be sure to see their great selection of outerwear from name brands like Carhartt, Ariat, and more. Need athletic shoes? Then see their great selection from brands like New Balance, Brooks, Reebok, Hoka, and more. Open Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Sunday from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. That's K&D Shoes, 2250 Dogwood Drive in Conyers. Call 770-483-9037. Or to learn more and see their great selection, go to kndshoes.com.
And welcome back to the Marc McMain Show. Our next guest, Alex Ortolano. He is a retired automobile executive, Vietnam veteran. Alex, thanks for joining us in studio today, sir.
Yeah, long drive.
It was a long drive. Where do you live? Where are you coming from?
Swanee.
Well, let me tell a little bit of the backstory. So Alex and my father worked together years ago at American Motors.
Yes.
Do you remember the Gremlin chassis, the Pacer?
Yes, I do, actually.
Yeah. Did they give you a Gremlin or a Pacer to drive when you worked for them, Alex?
Our first car was a Pacer, yeah.
Okay, that was basically a fishbowl on wheels.
Yeah, it was the first wide, small car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was actually a pretty neat car, very roomy inside. So you and my father worked together. I guess my dad was the zone manager here in Atlanta. That's what brought us from Detroit down to Atlanta in 1980. And so y'all became friends and have maintained a friendship ever since then.
That's a long time, yes.
Was he a tough dude to work for? Was he a pain in the butt?
No. He was very meticulous, and you know that. So I enjoyed that.
My dad is meticulous. There's no doubt about it. It's funny because I always wonder if he said the same thing to you guys at work that he said to me and my brothers on Saturday morning when she'd wake us up and say, hey, I've got a project for you. And that usually meant, go around and pick up trash around the house or maybe sweep the front porch or something like that. So did he ever come to you with a project? Alex, I got a project for you.
Yeah. I can't recall him now. It's a long time ago. I think that was 1970.
A long time ago.
Or maybe 71.
So then did you work with my dad in Detroit? Or did
Detroit.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I came to Atlanta after he had been the manager down here. So I followed him down here.
Gotcha.
So I was a Southeast regional manager after him.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, the zone here in this area. That makes sense. So tell our listeners a little bit about yourself. I see that you were born in New Orleans, grew up the son of a grocery store owner. Yeah. Tell us about that and tell us about your family.
Well, a grocery store, in those days, there were grocery stores on lots of corners. My grandfather actually owned 3 groceries. He delivered ice door to door with a horse and buggy, raised 7 children delivering ice.
Wow.
And he owned 3 grocery stores that he rented. He never ran the stores. And those 3 grocery stores were in the space of 4 blocks. So a corner, no grocery store, and then a grocery store.
Yeah, because back then there was no big supermarkets.
No.
Yeah.
You came home from work and you went and got what you needed to cook for the night at the grocery store.
Were you able to spend time with your grandfather?
Yeah. He had a stroke very early in my life, and he was pretty incommunicative after that.
But then your dad stayed in the business.
Oh yeah, my dad stayed till he died. He died while I was right after I got back from Vietnam.
Got you.
1966.
And tell us about your wife. You've been married for 62 years?
62, yes.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
What's the secret?
Just listen to what she tells you.
See, I've been following that secret. So I'm on 28, so we're rocking and rolling.
That's great, yes. 60 years.
You should have given my dad some of those tips, though.
Wow.
He didn't make it quite that far.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what the rest of your family, too. I don't want to leave this out because I did a little bit of research on you. You have 4 children, 11 grandchildren, and 2 great-grandchildren.
Yes.
Is that up to date?
Yeah, about 2, maybe 3 months old for the youngest great-grandchild.
And what we're going to do is we're going to save the second segment to talk about your time in service to our country, specifically as it pertains to Vietnam. But after you come back from your time in the Army, you spent more than 30 years in the automotive industry. Tell us about that journey.
Well, we started out in Louisiana. I started with Ford Motor Company, and then I went to American Motors, where your father was working. Mm-hmm. In the space of 8 years, we went from Louisiana to California to Detroit to Wisconsin, back to Detroit, and then to Atlanta.
Took the whole tour of the country. What did you do with Ford?
Sales and marketing.
Okay.
I was a regional manager down here.
Right, and then the same thing with American Motors, and then Toyota. Same capacity.
Did you say Ford?
Well, you started with Ford, you said.
Yeah, just all the different departments. Field manager, drove a car 5 days a week. Came home on Friday, left on Monday, calling on dealers.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's talk about this, too. So a couple days ago, we had on my friend Bill Dopp. He is the regional, he had a fancy title. I don't know. He was the regional, let's just call him the regional dude for the United States Tennis Association. I understand at 84 years old, you're still playing tennis as well.
Yeah, I hit a couple of good ones a few days ago.
Okay, hit some down the line winners.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
What's
your shot? What's your specialty? Your forehand? You got the gun forehand, backhand, or is it serve?
I don't know whether I have a specialty. I just at this point I'm just struggling to get it back.
And you haven't gone to the dark side of pickleball yet, have you?
No, I will not play pickleball until I get old.
Until you get old, and we're far, far away from that. That's right. But you know what?
I did have this happen. Last time I played, there was a guy on the other side of the net who was 79, and he said something that I didn't quite understand. He said, "You must have been a 4.5 player." That's USTA.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that. I played Alta. He said, "You must have been a 4.5 player in your prime."
And you said, "I'm still in my prime."
Right, yes.
Did you tell that young whippersnapper of 79 to keep his mouth shut?
No, he's a pretty good player at 79.
He could back up his game. And then tell us about the blog that you're doing. You're an active blogger, I see, since the early 2000s. 1,500 posts, 700,000 views. What are the topics of your blog, and what's the inspiration behind that?
I just look at the world around me. If I'm driving a car, I see something and it strikes me, and I usually go for humor. I definitely stay away from politics, but they just come to me and I make notes, and I probably have 240 more ideas, but I just can't get to them.
Well, there's
and
plenty
I'm
of time.
not going to get to them at 84.
No, you got plenty of time. Plenty of time. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. Our guest is Alex Ortolano. He is a retired automobile executive and a Vietnam veteran. And also somewhere, I don't have this in my notes, but I think when I was researching last night, preparing for this interview, did you write a book?
Well, I took about 90 of my blogs in 2010, and I put them into a book.
Okay.
So I just grabbed 90 of them and published it. And I self-published the book. And I don't know if you know about publishing, self-publishing, but if you self-publish, in my experience, once you run out of friends and relatives, you run out of sales. So,
Yeah.
so I sold about 100 books.
Hey, that's not bad. Some people, they publish a book and they don't ever sell one copy. And so it's just kind of humor, day-to-day stories, just things that you observe as you go.
Yeah, they just happen.
That's fascinating. I love it. I love it. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Alex, and we're going to shift into his time serving our country as a United States Army helicopter pilot.
It's a brand new year, and Boss Brothers is here to help you start it off right. Whether you're refreshing the farm, stocking up for the season, or treating your pets like family, we've got everything you need. From pet food and livestock feed to country decor, birdseed, boots, and all the little things that make life around the home and farm easier, you'll find it all at Boss Brothers Country Store. That's Boss Brothers, your locally owned country store at 3084 Highway 78 in Loganville.
Keep your vehicle looking and running like new with help from the Wow Express in Monroe, offering a state-of-the-art drive-through vehicle car wash that includes free vacuums, window cleaner, and so much more. Be sure to check out their unlimited wash club that saves you money. Open 7 days a week at 911 North Broad Street in Monroe and their second location at 242 North Broad Street in Winder. To learn more, go to wowwashandlube.com.
If you're in the construction business, you're going to need a dumpster at some point in time, and that's why you need to call Atha Equipment Rental in Monroe, now offering 20 and 30-yard cans. Atha Equipment Rental now offers a complete line of landscape and construction equipment like tools, trenchers, floor sanders, jackhammers, and so much more, like rentals for your parties with tables, chairs, popcorn machines, Dunkin' booths, and more. Call Jason Atha at 770-207-6041. That's Atha Equipment Rental on East Spring Street in Monroe.
Leadfoot Mulching and Grading offers land clearing, hauling of gravel and sand, and more. And now offering screen topsoil for the farmer or homeowner. Asphalt paving and more. No job is too big or small. Locally owned and operated, it's Leadfoot Mulching and Grading, serving all of North Georgia. Fair prices and great customer service. Phone 404-909-5227 or go to leadfootmulching.com.
Welcome back to the Marc McMain Show. Our guest is Alex Ortolano. Alex is a retired executive from the automobile industry, worked for places such as Ford, American Motors, if you remember those, the Gremlin, and Toyota. But he also served our country. He was with the United States Army. He was a helicopter pilot. Alex, you served with the 57th Medical Detachment. This is the first unit dedicated to helicopter medical evacuation in Vietnam. Tell me about that experience, because if anybody has ever seen a Vietnam movie, a Vietnam War movie, that's almost a staple in those movies are the medevac teams. Soldier gets injured, they call in for the helicopters, they come in and they extract them. Extremely dangerous job.
Well, it was statistically the most dangerous flying, and not putting any other helicopter pilot down. Gunship's pilot had a lot of fun coming in and shooting up everything. But our job was to go in on many occasions into the middle of an active battle and load patients. And so when you are not moving, you're a good target. So that's why we had such high casualty, because we would land, load patients, and then take off. But when we were loading, we weren't moving, so we were...
You're sitting ducks.
Yeah, sitting ducks, right?
Yeah. And I guess you maybe at best had a door gunner. That was probably your only response to... Or did you even have a door gunner back then?
No, all we had two pilots, and we had a medic and a crew chief. Crew chief kept the ship flying, and he came on all missions with his ship, and the medic did the medical care for the people we picked up.
So you're never returning fire. You're basically just absorbing fire when you're coming in. And let me ask you this. Would the helicopter that you have flown, would it have had the Red Cross symbol on it at the time?
It had Red Crosses, but we had a rifle and a .45, but that was only in case we were shot down. We didn't have machine guns. We didn't fire back.
Well, and again, I'm no military historian, but per the Geneva Convention, I think those, if you had that symbol, were not supposed to be fired on by the enemy, but the Vietnam The Viet Cong were not obeying those rules.
They didn't pay any attention to it. They loved to see us coming in.
Mitch will correct me if I'm wrong. If that wasn't a Geneva Convention deal, he'll have a lecture for me next time he sees me. But I know that they weren't supposed to be fired upon. So something that I found that was interesting when I was doing the research and the data that you had sent me, you said that the flying tactics that were taught in flight school would have basically gotten pilots killed, that you guys really had to adapt because of these new surroundings.
Yeah. What I mean by that is, for example, you would be with your instructor pilot and you were at an altitude and you were told to go down, and you would very slowly go down at an even rate of descent, and there would be a panel on the ground. So you either flew to the panel and landed, or you got to a 3-foot hover behind the panel. All of it very slow, very controlled. So we got to be very good at that. But if you would do that in Vietnam, you would get shot down halfway down.
Yeah, because you're an easy target to hit.
We had to develop other tactics to get to the ground and do our job.
What would that be, like a rapid descent or?
Well, for example, if we thought, I was never quite sure, but we thought that at 3,500 feet we were safe from ground fire. Maybe in later years, I was there in 65, 3,500 feet, the Viet Cong or the North Vietnamese got weapons that could go above 3,500. But anyway, 3,500 feet, if you took a ship and you hit left pedal really hard and put the stick to the right, left, and down,
okay,
it would fall like a rock. Like people think if your engine quits, you fall like a rock.
Right.
So you would go down very rapidly, and then when you got to the ground, you would flare it out and land it very quickly. And then so we got through that area of danger from 3,500 down to, and then taking off, we would always try to land, if we knew where the fire was coming from, land the tail of the ship toward the enemy,
so that you could absorb the shots.
Well, we wanted to be, first of all, the back of the ship might absorb, when we weren't quite sure, might absorb or deflect some of the rounds coming in, but we certainly didn't want to be taken off in the direction of the incoming fire, because that's when you're low and slow and you're very vulnerable.
And you only have glass in front of you at that point to protect you.
That's just, yeah.
And was most of the fire, was it small arms fire, or were there rocket propelled grenades, or what are they shooting at you for the most part?
I only experienced small arms fire.
Yeah.
There were mortars. Matter of fact, there was a story by another pilot how the area where they needed to go was under mortar fire, so he knew he couldn't land there. So what he did is he went across the open field and he landed, and he sat there waiting because the enemy was now adjusting the fire from where the patients were or where the troops were to where he was. So he waited and he waited, and when he estimated that they had recalibrated the mortars, then he took off and jumped into where the patients were, loaded them, and got out of there.
Wow.
That is just bizarre.
He got a Medal of Honor, but not for that occasion. But he was one of our guys that got a Medal of Honor.
For something else that he did.
Quite a pilot.
Wow. And was there an opportunity, so when you arrived at Vietnam and you have all these tactics that have been taught to you, where did you do your training in the United States?
What?
Where did you train the helicopter
Fort
training?
Walters, Texas.
Okay.
Near Mineral Wells for primary training, the little small bubble helicopters. And then we went for advanced training to Fort Rucker, Alabama, and we got into the H-19, which was a terrible ship to fly, but it did fly. And then we got into the Hueys. And when we got into the Hueys, it was just absolutely amazing the power that they had compared to an H-19. Man, the first day out with a Huey, the instructor pilot took you to trees in an open area, and he got you too close to the trees to take off. And then he said, take off. And, of course, I said, you mean the other way? He said, no, toward the trees. So the point is, you had all the power you needed to get up over those trees, whereas an H-19 couldn't possibly have done it. It'd have flown into
too sluggish,
the trees.
yeah.
Yeah, very shallow departure.
You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. Our guest, Alex Ortolano, he's sharing with us his time during the Vietnam War as a helicopter pilot for the United States Army. What I find, again, fascinating, so as you go through flight school, they teach you tactics that probably were universal tactics that would work in most any situation. Then you get to Vietnam and you realize, hey, those tactics actually could be dangerous to us, might get us killed. So are you learning on the fly how to adjust your new strategy and how you're going to fly this craft? Or did you get there and pilots are saying, hey, Alex, look, I know you learned one way over in the United States, you got to do it different here?
Yeah, it was a lot of that. The unit first came over in 62. I got there in 65. They had developed the tactics that I used. And I don't know what happened after I left, because that was a long time before the war ended.
Yeah. What years were you there? What was your tour?
I was in 1965.
Right. And was it a 1-year tour? How long was
Yeah, it's all 1-year tour.
Whew, man. And look, I saved this for the end, but I'm going to go ahead and say it now. I greatly appreciate your service to our country.
Yes.
I can only imagine how much you were in harm's way. And as I've had the pleasure of meeting many Vietnam veterans throughout my life, the one thing that always sticks with me is the unfortunate treatment of many, if not all of y'all, when you came home from your service. I think our country was in a state of delirium as to how they were treating our Vietnam veterans. So my heart goes out to you guys, not just for what you did. Many of you were 18, 19, 20 years old serving our country, but then what you had to deal with when you came back.
Well, the first time I was told thank you for your service, I had been back for 45 years from Vietnam.
Wow.
And that one didn't quite count because there was a Best Buy salesman trying to sell me a computer.
Wow.
But that's the first time.
I can see where he gets the humor from on the stories. Yeah, you find humor in every situation. But think about that. There was some void. I don't think it was until the first Gulf War that there was a rejuvenation of, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess appreciation for our service members. And then, in my opinion, what took place is we look back and we're like, man, did we treat our Vietnam veterans bad?
Yeah, that's true.
There's a common misbelief that if a helicopter's engine fails, it simply falls out of the sky. Tell us about what really happens.
Well, that's what people think. Your engine quits. What are you going to do? You're going to go straight down. Not true. When you're going through the air, you have airspeed, and when the engine quits, you take all the bite out of the blade, so the blade is flat.
Okay.
And you adjust the rate of descent, and so you're not going straight down. You're gliding down.
Okay.
And there is energy in those blades, because they're spinning, because the air is going through them as you go down. And then when you get to the bottom, you pull back your collective, which is a stick forward and backward.
Okay.
And then you pull up all the power you have in your what they call the cyclic control, and you have one shot to put it on the ground. In other words, you have energy enough in the blades to stop it, to get it down.
So to slow it down, and it's probably not going to be a real comfortable landing, but it's not going to be a crash landing.
Yeah, if you walk away, it was okay.
Yeah. It doesn't matter what happens to the machine as long as you can walk out. Couple stories that I have queued up for you here, fascinating stories that you want to share. Let's start with the Vicks Vapor Rub. What is that? What is this all about?
One of the guys one day, because of this situation, told the commander, we ought to get some Vicks vapor Rub, because a ship with blood all over the floor, blood all over the walls, blood all over the patients, and maybe the back of our heads, was a very uncomfortable, awful smelling place.
Oh,
and we took Vicks Vapor Rub and either stuffed it up our nose or we put it under our nose on the lip, so we didn't have to smell what was out there. That's it.
Just think of that again. I don't know. That hits home when you think about what you guys were facing, what our troops on the ground were facing back then, and just what a brutal situation that was. You had another story, Zippo lighters. What Zippo lighters to the color of smoke? Is that?
Well, but first of all, we'll do smoke. We would go out into the middle of nowhere, and we had to find where the patients were, and the good guys would throw out smoke grenades.
Okay.
And in the early days, before I got there, they'd throw out smoke grenade, and next thing you know, a short distance away where the Viet Cong was, they'd throw out a smoke grenade.
To deceive you.
To get us to land over where they were.
Right.
So what we developed was, or what they developed before me, was to throw smoke and we would identify the color. So we would say blue smoke, and they would confirm that.
Okay.
Okay. If two blue smokes came out, then we would ask for another another smoke grenade.
Okay.
So that kept us from landing with where the bad guys were, so they could make us feel really uncomfortable.
Was that because were they able to intercept your comms at times, and they kind of knew what you were asking for, or they were just watching to see what other smoke grenade went out?
It could be either one of those.
Yeah.
What was the other one?
The Zippo lighters.
Night flying, you couldn't use smoke because you couldn't see the smoke. So I'm not exactly sure how we found them at night, what we did, but on one occasion, a Zippo lighter, one of the good guys put out a Zippo lighter and waved it around, and we landed to the Zippo.
You were able to see that from altitude.
Yeah, we were close enough.
Wow.
That's great vision right there.
And not too smart because the Viet Cong had Zippos too, but we took a chance that time.
Wow.
Good Lord.
We thought we were going to send that to Zippo. You know, they used to have those comic book cartoons about people falling in holes, and they shine up their flashlight, their rear vac. We thought about sending that to Zippo, but we never did.
It's a whole new use for our lighter. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. Our guest, Alex Ortolano, retired automobile executive, Vietnam veteran, served our country in the United States Army as a helicopter pilot, sharing his stories about the Operation Dust Off. I guess that was the name of the whole entire operation, where you would go in, soldiers on the ground were in trouble, they got injured, they had to call for a medevac, they'd find a landing zone or an LZ, a clear, safe, or hopefully a safe place to land so that the helicopters can come in, and that's what Alex did. They would come in, and man, you guys had to be a sight for sore eyes for somebody who's been wounded.
The sound of a Huey is very distinctive, and there's been many people on the ground who were in despair, and they would hear that whop, whop, whop coming, and it would give them hope. They knew someone was coming.
Yeah.
They called it the golden hour, and many times we would get patients to aid stations, and of course when they got on the ship, they start getting care from the medic.
Right.
But we get them to the aid station in less than an hour.
And that's that critical time. That's that window to get them to safety where they can start recovering.
The casualty rates and the survival rates were much increased because of that.
My son is training to be a helicopter pilot for the United States Navy. He'll ultimately be flying the Seahawk, the MH-60 Seahawk. Have you had a chance to get into any of the recent aircraft and see how technology has changed since the Vietnam War?
No. The Black Hawk, we went to the retirement of the 57th about 12 years ago, and we just looked around inside of a Black Hawk. A Black Hawk is a very powerful and good ship, but we, the old guys, would not like to be in a Black Hawk because it couldn't do what we thought it needed to do, was to be able to get down and land it quick.
Right.
The Black Hawk would come in a lot slower.
Yeah, I guess the Huey was more nimble, right? A little bit more agile for those situations. Has it been fully decommissioned, or does anybody still use it, the Huey?
Say it again?
Has it been decommissioned, or is it still being used?
The Huey flew until very recent years, but it has been discontinued now. But it is a wonderful ship.
Yeah, and so important for those medevac missions. Looking back, how did your time in Vietnam, shape the rest of your life? I know that was you had a perspective on life that many of us can never comprehend at your age. And how do you hope that people, especially younger generations, understand about those early medevac times and what you went through?
It's pretty much has disappeared from my life. It's maybe a strange thing to say, but people are not really interested. I hardly ever get questions about Vietnam.
And I wonder if that's from, I think there's two elements to that. One of them is the disconnection, where the younger generation just doesn't have a fathom or a clue what you guys went through. And some of that may be a certain level of concern for your privacy or respect, that because there are some people that there was a spell there where it wasn't spoken about. I remember I tell a story when I was 19 years old. I worked for a Vietnam veteran. I was an electrician assistant. He was an electrician. And I never knew that he served our country. I knew he was a Navy veteran, but I never knew that he served in Vietnam, nor the depth of his service. He was on one of the riverboats until one afternoon. He invited me to his house to cut grass, and he was inebriated, to say the least, when I got there. And the best way I can describe it, Alex, is he had a flashback in front of me. And it was one of the most frightening things I'd ever been to, witnessed.
Yeah.
And what I learned is he never spoke about it before that moment, and he never spoke about it after that moment.
Yeah.
But in that moment, he relived some terrors. And so I think there's also an apprehension for some people, because they want to show respect to our veterans, not just Vietnam, but everybody who served our country. But we also don't want to be that person of saying, hey, tell us the gory details, right? You know, there's a certain window that we want to, there's a lane we want to stay in, so that we're respectful of what you went through. But we do want to hear. We do want to understand. We do want you to share. And I know our listeners are enjoying hearing, not enjoying the tough times you went through, but enjoying hearing and learning about these experiences, because this was a tough time for America. But I just can't emphasize enough. These were 18, 20, 22-year-olds, some of which were drafted, didn't even really want to be there, that we asked to go into this this very desperate, difficult situation.
Well, to go back to a different war, I once read a book called The Wild Blue, and it was about B-24 pilots coming out of Africa and then eventually out of southern Italy as the war moved on. And the crew, and my number won't be exactly right, but the crew was like 10 people. And you had 2 pilots, and then you had 8 others, navigators and whatever. And these were 18, 19-year-old kids. The commander of the ship was McGovern, who later ran for president, Senator McGovern. Mm-hmm. He was 22 years old. He was the old man flying these gigantic aircraft and going through all what they did, led by a 22-year-old and being 18 and 19. What they did is amazing.
Hard to fathom. Hard to fathom. I had one more thing queued up. You wanted me to mention the last day of World War I.
It's maybe there's 2 more stories if you got time. But
sure,
anyway,
yeah,
last day of World War I. World War I ended on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918.
Okay.
And the war armistice was actually signed at 5 a.m. They didn't make it effective until 11 a.m. And during those 6 hours, they fought as hard as they could for those 6 hours, as if it was any other day of the war. And I'm pretty sure when I say more people were killed that day than were killed at the invasion of Normandy. And the war had 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 hours to go. I read an excerpt out of the book that I read. It said 25 minutes to 11. A commander of a unit sent his guys over the top, which means they went into no man's land, and many of them got killed. And 25 minutes before the war was over. You think when he got that order, he might have said, court-martial me. I ain't doing that.
Right.
But
yeah,
that's what we do in war.
It just emphasizes war is hell. It's absolute hell. There was another story you wanted to share?
Oh, geez, I might have lost it. What do I have there on the paper?
Well, I just had to mention the last day of World War I, and then you said there might be another story. But
okay, I got one.
You got it? All right.
This is an interesting story. There was a guy after me, actually. He served 2 tours over there. But he He was in the Army. He was an enlisted man, and he wanted to go. This is World War II.
Okay.
He wanted to go to flight school, and he was too short. So he and his buddies figured out that when you woke up in the morning, you were taller than you would be as the day went on at any time during the day. So when they got him up at 5 o'clock, he was going to go to the medical facility to measure his height. They came in with a stretcher, and they took him out of his bed, and they put him on the stretcher, and they carried him to the medical clinic.
So that he wouldn't compress.
And then when it come time to be measured, he jumped up and stood, and he was like, they say, a quarter of an inch too short. Well, maybe it was a half. Anyway, he almost made it, and the sergeant turned him down, told him he could. He wasn't the required height.
Yeah.
And, of course, then all kind of arguments ensued. And next thing you know, he was standing in front of the flight surgeon, and the flight surgeon just said, "Oh, what the hell, I'll go ahead and sign off." And he signed off. So he went in World War II, and he flew B-24s, I think, maybe B-29s. He was in Korea flying transport planes. He was out of the Army flying for Southern Airways when he decided to go back in the Army. He went back in, and he wanted to be an instructor pilot, and the Army said he was going to fly dust off. The Army knows best. So he flew dust off on 2 separate tours, and eventually in the second tour got a Medal of Honor.
Wow.
And all that could not have happened if the flight surgeon hadn't given him that quarter inch.
So you're too short, yeah. Let him round up on his height.
I've got a presentation I do about all of this, and I have a picture of him, and he was really short.
That is classic. I love it. Alex, I greatly appreciate you taking the time to share with us. And again, I can't emphasize enough how much I've enjoyed this, getting to see you again. I know we've only met once a few years ago, but really getting to know you, learn your story. I know our listeners enjoyed this. And before we go, you mentioned a website where people can learn about your blog. Tell us about that.
Well, to get to my blog, it's I'll give it to you. I'll spell it out. It's FORII, which is Foolishness or Is It, which is the name of the blog.
Okay.
FORII.blogspot, BLOGSPOT.com.
And they can find it there.
Yeah.
That's excellent. Alex, I appreciate you. This has been fantastic, and I look forward to having you back. Maybe you can curate some more stories that, the conversation has to continue. We got to keep this alive, and to be able to interview Vietnam veterans is probably one of my greatest pleasures and enjoyments doing this show.
One other thing, if I can.
Sure.
I do a presentation, about a 45-minute, 50 presentation, a PowerPoint presentation about what I've told you today and much more. I am ready to do that for any group, military or otherwise, that wants to learn about early days of medical evacuation in Vietnam.
You know what we need to do is connect him with Joe Chapman over at the VFW.
Yes.
And see if maybe they want to have you come in, because Joe listens to the station.
Yes.
So if Joe didn't get to listen today, or Mitch Swan, who's also active in that realm, we're going to make some connectivity.
Sure will.
And anybody that's listening to this show, I'll tell you what we'll do. If you want to connect with Alex, email us, info@WMOQFM.com, and just mention that you want to be connected with Alex, the Vietnam veteran, and then we'll put you in touch, and you can have Alex come out, because I tell you what, this was a great presentation that you gave to us, and you're just shooting from the hip, so I can only imagine if you have a PowerPoint presentation, how much more
I would love it.
Yeah,
I would love
engaging it would be. This is fantastic. Thank you for driving out, Alex.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your
Thank
service.
you for your
Absolutely.
service.
You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. When we come back, KJ Allen.
Real country.
This is Q92.3 WMOQ FM, Bostwick, Monroe, Madison. Your home for real country.
Hey, this is Doug.
And this is Robbie.
We own and operate Foy Tree Service.
When you need tree cutting, stump grinding, lot clearing, mulching, firewood, and more, call Foy Tree Service.
Serving Morgan County and surrounding area since 1987.
With top quality service and fair prices, we take pride in our work, and we do everything to make sure that you are a happy customer.
That's Foy Tree Service. Call us at 706-342-8733.
That's 706-342-8733.
new tree.
It's a brand new year, and Boss Brothers is here to help you start it off right. Whether you're refreshing the farm, stocking up for the season, or treating your pets like family, we've got everything you need. From pet food and livestock feed to country decor, birdseed, boots, and all the little things that make life around the home and farm easier, you'll find it all at Boss Brothers Country Store. That's Boss Brothers, your locally owned country store at 3084 Highway 78 in Loganville.
Keep your vehicle looking and running like new with help from the Wow Express in Monroe, offering a state-of-the-art drive-through vehicle car wash that includes free vacuums, window cleaner, and so much more. Be sure to check out their unlimited wash club that saves you money. Open 7 days a week at 911 North Broad Street in Monroe and their second location at 242 North Broad Street in Winder. To learn more, go to wowwashandlube.com.
Franklin's Gun Shop in Athens has everything you need for hunting and fishing. They have great prices on their guns, ammo, scopes, bows, gun safes, knives, blinds, tree stands, and rod and reels, clothing, and more. I do all of my shopping at Franklin's, and they're open 7 days a week, Monday through Saturday from 9 to 9 and Sunday noon to 6. At Franklin's, you'll get great customer service from people who know what they're talking about. Family owned since 1961, located at 3941 Atlanta Highway in Athens.
Cassie Enterprises invites you to stop in and see their new line of Coyote brand tractors, UTVs, and Bad Boy zero-turn mowers. Coyote tractors have the power to handle any job. Working on the farm, landscape business, and more, Coyote tractors are dependable and ready to work for you. Sales, service, parts, and more. It's all available at Cassie Enterprises. Family owned and operated. 145 Highway 83 in Good Hope. Go to CassieTractor.com.
Double D Plumbing is a local-owned, licensed and insured plumbing company in Loganville. You can reach Double D Plumbing at 770-466-8370. They have the ability to take on any plumbing job regardless of size or difficulty, with experience in all phases of plumbing, including commercial and residential, tankless heaters, sewer cameras, and drain cleaning. Call Craig Shepard at 770-466-8370 or visit them on the web at ddplumbinggeorgia.com. You're going to like the way they flow.
Welcome back, Marc McMain. Chastity, that was a fantastic interview.
It was amazing.
So much, to hear those firsthand experiences, it's one thing to see a movie, one thing to read a book. It's another thing to be sitting across from the man.
Amazing.
Yep. And the other thing that's it's shocking to me is our Vietnam veterans are now, they're in their 80s. Right? And for him to say, hey, people don't ask me about this.
That almost made me cry.
Well, it's just, there's a story to be told. And I mean it, I think what I said was accurate in saying, hey, look, I think there's two schools of thought. There's some people that just, they're ignorant, right? They don't care. They don't ask. They don't learn. And there's other element of people that just say they want to know, but they're respectful and they don't want to ask.
Right. Don't want to trigger or too sensitive.
That's right.
Never,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You don't know.
Yep. That was a good point.
Well, our next guest I'm excited about. KJ Allen owns several radio stations in this area, and he's also a candidate for Georgia House 120. KJ, thanks for joining us, sir.
Mark, great to see you. And let me tell you, I've been to this radio station multiple times over the years, and it's just spectacular what you have done with this station and your team. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for keeping local radio active and alive. And I've been in this business for, it's hard to believe, 32 years.
Wow.
And I'm only 34, so that's what's
you got started at 2.
At 2, I was out there and out the door and going, but no, 32 years, and I've seen so many changes in radio and just a huge change in our industry. And we'll talk more about this later on in the hour, but I just right off the bat wanted to say that I have a lot of people come up to me and say, "What do you do?" And I say, "Well, I'm in broadcasting," and they say, "Oh, radio's dead." And the first thing that comes to mind, I get mad about it first, and then it hurts my feelings a little bit. And then I say, why are they saying that? And the reason they're saying that is we have a lot of places around the state, around the country, that local radio operators have kind of given up.
That's
right. They just walked away, stepped away from it. And I've been a part of the Georgia Association of Broadcasters for a number of years, so I'm familiar with just about every radio station in this state. There are some that are in a very sad situation. There are some that are extraordinary, and what it takes is what you're doing here, having a platform, having the ability for people to come in and talk, share their ideas. This is what makes this radio station great. There's a great station in Jessup, Georgia, an incredible station in Cartersville, Georgia. So they do exist if you put that effort forward, and it just means the world to the community.
Well, and I appreciate what you said about the station. We've got a great team. There was we wanted the place to really look good, right? Especially if we're going to have guests come in the studio.
Yeah, you guys need to come clean up some of my radio stations.
Hey, we've done it once. We're good at it.
You're pros, right?
We know how to remove boxes, bodies, and blood stains. We've gotten really good at this. But it was, the station had good bones, but it's a country music station that when we went down this venture, we did not want to deviate from who we were. We're a country music station, but I was speaking to the Morgan County GOP last night, KJ, and I was telling them, where else can you tune in and hear your sheriff?
Right.
Sheriff Tyler Hooks was there in attendance.
Right.
Or just like today, to have a firsthand account from a helicopter pilot during the Vietnam era.
Incredible.
Just great stories. Yeah. And so that's what we're enjoying is kind of figuring out, just like you said, hey, what do we do to maintain relevancy in this ultra competitive world that we live in? KJ, tell us about yourself. So you mentioned you've been in the business for 32 years, but where did you grow up? Tell us about your time as a child.
So don't hold it against me, but I grew up in East Tennessee, so about 4 hours up the road, and a very similar environment to what we have here in Northeast Georgia. Grew up there, never wore, believe it or not, and I'm not just saying this because I'm running for office, I have never in my life worn big orange.
We like to call it convict orange.
Convict, yes. Yeah. I've never had the jumpsuit on, ever. And I was, we were kind of a basketball family actually growing up, and more into Indiana basketball. That's why I'm excited about Indiana doing football.
What a run.
Isn't that amazing? So coming here to Georgia, I mean, it felt like home. I moved here. So I started in radio when I was 15. And do you want me to share the
what
story?
Did that look like at 15?
So, people sometimes look at luck of the draw sometimes, and they look at skill, and they say one's more important than the other. I always think they kind of work together. You have to be ready for when luck finds you sometimes. So I was 15 and wanted to be on the radio so badly. I'm calling the local radio station, and I learned that the manager was the afternoon guy. So I had a set time. I knew from 3 to 7. I knew where he was going to be every day, so I could call him. I bugged him every day about being on the radio. I said, no, get out of here. You're no good. Back in the early 90s, you could tell kids they were no good and it didn't ruin them forever.
Yeah, right.
So
we had thick skin back then.
We did. We had to. We had no choice. So this was about the week of Thanksgiving, 1993. And he said, he was just so sick of me. And then he said, can you come in tomorrow? I said, yes, sir. I'll be there. Now, I didn't have a driver's license yet. I didn't know how I was going to get there.
So Mom's got to take you.
Yeah, actually, my grandpa stepped up and borrowed one of my uncle's button-down shirts, and my grandpa drove me over to the station. And he said this was for an interview, but it wasn't an interview. The point was the station was going to be sold, and it wasn't public information yet, but they were going to close within a few weeks or a few months. They didn't know. So he didn't want to make this public yet, but he was going to sit me down and just basically say, look, kid, I'm not going to hire you because you're going to be fired in a couple of weeks anyway. Right. So that was the point of the meeting. So I went there, sat down. He was just about to get to that point, and the young lady walked in the room and said, Mike, can I take off this weekend? And he said, well, you just took off last weekend. No, but there's a concert in Atlanta I really want to get to. And he looked over at me and said, can you work this weekend?
No way.
I said, yes, sir. So that was it.
Serendipity.
Isn't that something?
Wow.
I mean, if I would have been there 15 minutes earlier, that would have been it. And
what were your tasks at that point at 15 years old? I mean, obviously you're a fan of broadcast, you're a fan of the radio station, but what did they have you doing?
So I was one of the main weekend guys. I worked noon to 6 Saturday and Sunday. And Sunday was fun because we had preaching, a very similar situation to here. We had an FM and an AM radio station in the same building. And so I had to get the preachers on the air and off the air. And so that was part of what I did. And the station did sell like 3 weeks later. And I was one of 2 employees that they kept.
They kept you on board.
Right. So I was the weekend guy. I worked about 18 hours on the weekends. I did like some crazy Sunday shift, and then Saturdays I worked all day.
Did you actually get on-air opportunities?
Oh, yeah, right. Day one, yeah.
You're kidding me.
Day one, yeah, it's terrible.
Wow, that's fantastic.
It's terrible.
Hey, how else do you learn, though, right?
Right.
You can do all the schooling you want, but until you're on-air live, it's and the light goes on, it's a whole different ball game. What would be some of the skills or traits that you think that you've learned? And again, you've been immersed in this since you're 15 years old. But what skills or traits do you think you've developed that helped you succeed in broadcasting? Because you're now kind of learning on the fly at this point.
Sure, and it's the way it's been from day one. And I think that being able to communicate with people and understanding that we all don't agree on everything, and even within even people that are, share similar backgrounds, similar political affiliations, whatever, we may not necessarily agree on everything.
Sure.
So, in broadcasting, the word broad means large, right? And then casting out that large net. We have to learn how to communicate in a large scope instead of a narrow scope of just being one-on-one.
That's right.
And that has been a very important lesson that I've learned over time. And then, starting the business, having my own broadcast business, that's where you start getting into the payroll and making sure that people get paid and making sure the lights stay on and all that fun
all
stuff.
the moving parts.
That's right.
Yep. Yeah. It's funny because you have all the moving parts of a regular business, plus you have FCC regulations you have to follow by. So it's not for the faint of heart.
No.
Right. And I've owned several businesses. It is one of the more complex businesses that I've owned. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. Our guest is KJ Allen. KJ is a regional media mogul. That's what I've labeled it. Media mogul, and he's running.
I got upgraded.
Well, hey, need a promotion. If you started at 15, you're still as you're a media mogul.
Well, by the way, Mark, I heard you said earlier if things don't work out, if they don't work out for you, they're not going to work out for me in radio. So we'll just go, run a Pilates studio or something. How about that?
Maybe Julia's hiring. That's
right.
I don't know. That made me. I may be too stiff for Pilates. I've seen what they do. I am too stiff for that. My legs don't bend that way anymore. Back in the day, I could do some stuff, but not anymore. Long hours. Again, talking about the business side of the business, it is complex. But even when you're in radio, and for you, you're trying to launch businesses. These are long hours. Sometimes the pay doesn't match the investment you're making as far as what you're putting into it. Family, they support you in this endeavor?
Family has been great since day one. It's wonderful. My grandmother, and she's still alive, 89 years old.
Wow.
She's going to outlive us all. She's so wonderful. And she told me, she said, she listened to my competing station that I worked for when I ended up going to Knoxville a few years later after that. And she said, well, if they hire you full-time, I'll switch over. I said, okay. They hired me full-time. And she said, well, if they do this for you, then I'll switch over. She was
Grandma.
She stayed with the other station, but she supported me as an individual. But there was something about the station she grew up with that she just couldn't bear to part with. But
hey, our listeners are loyal, so there's something to be said for
country music
loyalty.
listeners are incredibly loyal, and I love them, and they're wonderful.
We are blessed. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. We come back more with KJ Allen.
Do you have unwanted or scrap gold and silver jewelry just lying around? What about sterling flatware or gold and silver coins and bars? Madison Coin and Bullion will pay top dollar for any precious metals you own. Madison Coin and Bullion also offers a large selection of gold and silver coins and bullion available to purchase at competitive prices. And if you're looking to purchase jewelry at a considerably lower price, look no further than Madison Coin and Bullion. Madison Coin and Bullion, located at 2492 Eatonton Road in Madison, open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Hey, this is attorney Bart Bitton with Bitton & Bitton. I live and work right here in Monroe, Georgia, and I am proud to serve this area. If you've been hurt in a car accident, you don't need some out-of-town lawyer that treats you like a number. You deserve a local lawyer you can trust, someone who lives here, works here, and takes care of people. So remember this, if you're ever in a car accident, be smart, call Bart. Bitton & Bitton, local lawyers you can trust.
Lake Life is the Lake area's largest award-winning magazine, reaching over 25,000 readers. Pick up your copy of Lake Life magazine today. Get Lake Life free at over 100 convenient locations in Georgia's Lake Country. And keep in mind, you'll receive your free copy with a subscription to the Lake Oconee News or the Eatonton Messenger. Lake Life. It's all about the lives and events in Georgia's Lake Country. Call 706-485-3501 to subscribe. Lake Life, the biggest, the best, and it's free.
John Supermarket in downtown Monroe is proud to serve the Walton County community for over 50 years. 3 generations of the Thompson family offering the freshest produce, quality meats, everyday essentials, and now featuring Bistro South, a quick service restaurant with freshly made Southern cuisine and ready-to-heat gourmet meals. Always proud to support local farmers and suppliers, John Supermarket has the best meat in town and tons of weekly specials. Stop by and see them for all the ingredients, meals, snacks, sweets, gifts, and everything in between you need.
Welcome back to Marc McMain Show. We're so engrossed in conversation, we almost the ship almost bumped into the shore. No, this is a lot of fun. I'm enjoying this, especially because of who we are and what we're doing, and to be able to sit down and visit with KJ Allen, owner of several radio stations in this area, candidate for Georgia House 120. We're going to get to that in just a little bit. So, KJ, walk us through some of the stations that you own. So you get in this business at a young age. You find out this is your wheelhouse. How did you get into the ownership side of things?
Yeah, so I came up on the programming side of radio, which, that's the putting on the music and talking on the radio. A lot of folks that get into management and ownership are on the sales side because they know how to bring the money in.
Yeah.
I know how to spend the money. Luckily, I have a wonderful, wonderful sales manager and our sales crew that keep things going and keep the bills paid. But so I was like I said, on the air in East Tennessee. I moved here to Georgia in 1996, so just about 6 months after I got out of high school.
During the Olympics, yep.
That's right. And I was the studios were in Gainesville, so all the rowing and all this stuff was going on up there. And so it was right after the Olympics. Got here and then moved to Athens. Again, to be in the programming side, I was program director of one of the stations in Athens, and I met my goal of trying to do that while I was a teenager. So I was 19. It was 2 months before I turned 20.
Yeah.
And the owners there, that was before the big conglomerate owned the radio stations in Athens. It was locally owned then, and they had a lot of faith in me, and I appreciate that and thank them to this day. One of the owners has since passed away, but the other's still around and still in the broadcast business in other parts of the country. And they just gave me a lot of opportunities. Again, luck sometimes will come into play, but being able to have the ability, but also having a person to give you a shot.
That's right.
That is so important to have someone that believes in you. And even when maybe you don't completely deserve it, but so I did that. And then I left the Northeast Georgia a couple of times. I went to Nashville for 3 years and worked for a station called WSM, home of the Grand Ole Opry.
Okay,
and that was a total blast.
Same role, programming,
yes, programming and operations, and dream job, wonderful job, working in the big Opryland Hotel, hanging out with the country stars every night, the Opry 3 nights a week.
So cool.
It was just an incredible experience. But it wasn't home. It wasn't home. And I knew I would be back to Georgia. I kept my 706 number. I knew I would be back to Northeast Georgia because this is where I belonged. And so that happened about 20 years ago now. I guess it was 2005, 2006. And started our own broadcast company, which started with one little dinky radio station that was off the air before we took over. So it was static. No revenue.
You're just buying the FCC license.
That's it.
Yeah.
And took over that.
Was that AM or FM?
It was an FM.
Okay.
But, as small of an FM as you can imagine, a little 1,700-watt FM radio station.
Yeah.
So we, again, put together a wonderful team, and we were able to get the revenue up to based on old records, about 4 times what they ever did in their history before.
Wow.
So again, that's not me. I'm not a salesperson, but it was just putting together what the community needed and what they wanted, what they're asking for, and then delivering. So from there, acquired some more stations up in Royston, Georgia, then Washington, and then picked up some more stations in down toward Milledgeville, Lake Oconee, and just continued to grow in a smart fashion. It's not about, I don't have a board of directors or investors or banks or anybody breathing down my neck. So I don't have to.
You kind of call the shots.
Right.
And your station down by the lake, that's the one I'm very familiar with. It's a great station. What are the call signs on
So
it?
Doc 103.9.
Fantastic. Yep, Chip Linus.
That's right.
So when I ran for office 4 years ago, became very familiar with the station and great programming.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And again, it's very community focused. It's like what you're doing. And you guys share Tim Bryant in the morning, as a matter of fact.
Yeah,
and so that's a big part of what we do and a big part of what you do. And I thank you for being part of that show.
Absolutely.
We can talk about that a little bit in a second, too, if you want. But, Doc has been very hyper-focused. And again, it's just about filling that community need. And my opinion is, if you want to turn on Sirius XM and Lake Oconee, then I have done something wrong, right? There's something that I'm... If some piped in service from California or wherever they're from, is better than what we're doing, then I need to improve what I'm doing. And that's always our focus, is how do we work to earn our listeners, not just say, hey, they should listen because we're local. We need to earn their listenership.
You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. Our guest is KJ Allen, radio station owner, candidate for Georgia House 120. It's funny because, KJ, you and I operate in the same space, and prior to me getting into this business, my wife and I own Town Values Magazine, the MTM Shopper. We've had that for almost 24, good Lord, 25, 23, 24 years. We love what we do in the publishing side, and just kind of like we're talking about, while newspapers, Yellow Pages, and all that have gone to the wayside, our magazine has flourished, right? We're this hyper-focused. We're all about helping small businesses succeed, and what's interesting is there is a community-based approach to about everything that we do. If you ever walked into a place of business and you see the little sticker that says "Buy Local," right? That's what we are. We're that same version. So when you, as a business owner, go to spend money, and you put that sticker on your window, but you're spending your money with Sirius Radio or Google or Facebook, remember that Buy Local goes in many directions.
That's right.
And so when you are buying ads on the dock down by Lake Oconee, you are supporting people who live in that community. Right. You know, so that's the beauty of this. And you're not going to hear anything local on Sirius Radio. And I joked about it yesterday. See, Ludlow Porch, back in the day on AM 750, he'd say, FM radio's of the devil. I like to say now Sirius radio's of the devil. I say that in jest, but it's yeah.
And speaking of that, it was funny when I started in radio. My first manager, his name was Jim Dampier, and he told me, he said, enjoy this ride while you can, because by the year 2000, there's a new service called DARS, D-A-R-S. That was the name before it was called Sirius and XM, and before they merged. So it was Digital Audio Radio Service or something. He said, DARS is coming out. It's going to cover the entire country. You can drive from point A to point, anywhere in the country, not lose the signal. And we're toast by the year 2000. I said, wow, Jim, this is, boy, making me feel great. This is great. And here we are in the year 2026, and not only did Sirius XM almost completely falter because they had to merge in order to survive.
To avoid it. Yep, right.
We're still around, and we are outpacing the satellite radio still to this day. So, again, that's a testament to not giving up and to saying there are things we can do if we choose to do it on the local level that they can never do.
Well, and the misnomer was, too, because you pay a subscription fee for Sirius, and the misnomer was that there was no commercials. That is not the case.
They got you on the other side.
Loaded with commercials. So I think if you listen to our local brand of radio, you're going to have far less interruptions. And even when you do have commercials, it's your neighbors in your that are backyard that 100%. Are marketing their services and wares. Versus on Sirius, you're going to be hearing national products being marketed, whatever it may be.
That's right. People that you'll never know, you'll never know and never come in contact with, and that's the way that product works. And local. I mean, you just hit the nail on the head, Mark. I mean, this is an opportunity for our local neighbors to operate, get their message out locally, and it just stays all within the house.
Lessons learned. I could write a book just in the 6 months that we've owned this station. You try things, you do things, and I'm still going to learn as we go along. Again, it's all about providing the product that the listeners that are listening right now that they want to hear, right? Yeah. We want to give them something that is relevant and give them a reason to tune in. What have you seen? What are some of the lessons that you've learned in the business so far?
I think most importantly is you're not going to please everyone. And sometimes the squeaky wheel, they're a silent minority that they'll sneak up and say, oh, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong. Just stick to your core values and your principles, and you'll win every time. You'll win in the long game.
Yeah.
And we have always, I'm just a person, I was told the definition of integrity is doing the right thing when no one's watching. And I thought that has stuck with me. I don't know when I heard that. It was a long time ago, and it has stuck with me. And so, what we do in our business is all my employees, they don't have to call me every 2 hours to ask me a question. Should we do this? Should we do that? It's very basic. Do the right thing.
Yeah.
And do that. Even if it means we may lose a little revenue in the short term, we'll be around in the long term if you do it the right way.
It's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've seen radio stations that, they get tangled up in stuff just to make a little extra buck here and there. There are ways that you can double bill and do things like that. And it's like, we're not going to do that.
Right.
Ever. Never, ever under any circumstance.
Yeah.
Well, but this is going to, nope, we're never going to do it. And what that has created is an environment that not only do our clients trust us, our community trust us, but our fellow like salespeople in our organization, they trust each other.
Well, they know the culture is right.
That's right.
Yeah, they're part of it. They're part of a culture that's honest and forthright, and it's going to do it the right way. And I love that. I think that is spot on.
I've had broadcasters say, "How do you handle if a client calls in and they want to place a buy? And do you spin a wheel? Who gets the business or whatever?" I said, No, they handle it themselves. They know who's going to be a good fit. And they may, I may have one person say, you know what, I think this person will be a better fit for you. And they have each other's back, and and I have their back, and they have my back. And that just takes a little time and a little trust. And,
it does.
And once you do that, you can hang on to it for as long as you want.
I love it. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. When we come back, continue our conversation with KJ Allen. Stick around.
When it comes to tasty treats, the only place you need to be is Stone Mountain Pecan Company. Offering high-quality Georgia pecans, other nuts, dried fruits, coffees, and candies, Stone Mountain Pecan has it all. And the best part, it's all online at stonemountainpecan.com. Or take it all in person and visit their country store on Highway 78 in Monroe. Stone Mountain Pecan Company. Something for everyone. Eat well, be happy.
You ever roll out of bed and feel like you lost a fight with a tractor? If your back's barking, your neck's complaining, and your knees pop louder than a box of cereal, it might be time for the Joint Chiropractic. There are no appointments, no insurance mess, and no sitting around all day. You just walk in, get adjusted, and head back out feeling human again. Now serving Covington and Monroe, whether you've been hauling, hunting, working, or just sleeping funny, the Joint Chiropractic keeps you moving smooth and feeling right. The Joint Chiropractic, because snap, crackle, and pop belong in your cereal and not your spine.
Roll-Off Systems of Statham, they're on a roll. They offer dumpsters in all sizes, trash compactors, porta potties, and new combo cans. Existing sites are new building sites. Trash and waste disposal, it's their business. Locally owned and operated. Call Roll-Off Systems today. 770-725-ROLL. That's 770-725-ROLL. Or go to rolloffsystems.com.
Ready to grow your small business and reach thousands of new customers? Say hello to Town Values Magazine, formerly MTM Shopper, proudly serving the community for 22 years. Every month, thousands of magazines are mailed directly to homes in Walton, Oconee, Barrow, Rockdale, Newton, Gwinnett, and beyond to further expand your reach. Our magazine is packed with valuable coupons and services offered, helping families save money while supporting the community they love. We specialize in local direct marketing that works, building your brand, driving sales, and connecting you with the customers who matter most. Plus, we're online at townvalues.com and on Facebook and Instagram, giving your business even more exposure in print and digital. Ready to reserve your space in the next edition? Call Liliana at 770-267-6650. Town Values Magazine. Local, trusted, powerful. Helping businesses grow and families save.
Welcome back. Marc McMain. Our guest is KJ Allen, local business, local radio station owner, candidate for Georgia House 120. We're going to get into that in a deep dive in just a second here, but let's keep talking about radio for a second, KJ. From your perspective, how has the industry changed, let's say, over the past 10 years? We talked about the what is now satellite radio, Sirius XM. Mm-hmm. That has definitely made an impact on it. But also you have podcasts. Right. You have Pandora. You know, there's all these different ways to get
Apple,
content.
Spotify, right.
Yeah, 10 different ways. If you want to hear country music, there's 10 different ways to get it. Mm-hmm. So how have you seen that change? How has that affected things?
Well, I don't think it's a lot different than just about any other genre business that you can look at. You can say, well, let's go back to the 1920s and what was it like to go out and get a bite to eat? Well, you had a few mom and pop, meat and threes that you go to. Well, what happened when McDonald's came out and Hardee's and Burger King and all that? Did the mom and pops go away? Are they gone? Are they non-existent? No.
Learn to adapt.
They learned to adapt and they adjusted to their communities and they served, and some of them do very, very well. And so we're in that same environment that, yes, we do have large conglomerates and as far as the revenue is concerned, one thing that we have to take very seriously is the fact that Meta, the company that, has multiple digital platforms, they pull more revenue out of the state of Georgia, for example, than all of the TV and radio stations combined in the state.
Wow.
And, that is, you can't just ignore that. That's very, very serious. Yeah. They're 100% unregulated, and they come in and they can advertise without any sort of concerns of fairness or making sure that it's accurate, and they are pulling out more revenue than all of our broadcast stations combined. So that's impacting, especially local TV news has been hit by that the hardest.
Yeah, but you're right, because I guess they would not necessarily be subject to FCC regulations.
They're 0% subject.
Yeah.
0%. And we are regulated, and we even have the thrill of paying to be regulated every September, by the way. We get to write a nice big fat check to the FCC to say, thank you, government. Come in and tell us what to do.
Yeah, I do find that interesting. Yeah, that there's all the hidden expenses that you didn't realize you're getting into when you get in the ownership side of this.
Yeah,
it is.
surprise, every September. It's fun. So, and as far as regulations are concerned, we have ownership regulations that are still basically adapted to what the radio environment was like in the 1970s. And again, on the digital and the big giant corporate media side, there are no regulations. They can own everything. They can have a complete monopoly in their space. But on the radio side, we're still pretending like radio and TV and newspaper are the only entities out there to get information out. From a regulation standpoint, that's the way it's still perceived.
It's antiquated,
even though we're way beyond
big
that.
time antiquated.
Yeah,
you're right. It's and I've learned more as this goes on. You talk about with this station, we have FM, we got Q92.3, which is our flagship station, Real Country, what we're broadcasting on now, obviously. And then we have our sister station, WKUN, which is an AM station with an FM translator. AM radio, that's probably what's been hit the hardest.
Yes.
And I was thinking about this the other day. It's not so much maybe the radius of signal, it's still the quality, because when you tune in radio, I used to listen to AM radio back in the 80s, AM 750, right?
Yeah.
Still on today.
Right.
But when you tune in an AM station, it doesn't have the stereo quality, right? And so is there still a space for AM radio?
Well, this has been going on a lot longer than just recently. I mean, understand in Monroe, there were 2 AM radio stations in Monroe, WKUN, and then there was the other AM signal. KUN moved down to the other frequency. So, I mean, that I'm trying to think, that was probably early 90s. Someone with
that
more
sounds
history.
Right. I found the price card. Yeah, it was 1580.
That's right.
Yep.
And so KUN moved down to 1490
That's
and
right.
took over the other spot. So we've been seeing that sort of paring down on the AM side. And you're right, the fidelity is tough. It's tricky. A lightning storm, and you hear that come across and over the air, and it's tough to get people to adapt to that. But I still think that there is a space for it, especially when you get into larger communities and you need more signal space to get into, for example, there's an Asian formatted station in Atlanta. Okay.
Yep.
And there's a large community. I mean, you're reaching hundreds of thousands of people that can be served by that. So it works.
Yeah.
So I think, the more bandwidth and spectrum that we have available, the better. And we've been pushing one of the things with the Georgia Association of Broadcasters and the National Association. There were some automakers that tried to get rid of AM radio out of the cars. Now, ultimately, we knew the next step was to get rid of FM, because the situation is they want to get rid of anything they can't monetize. So you have car manufacturers now that are selling a monthly subscription for seat warmers. Okay, there are look, you can look it up. I'm not kidding.
Man.
So if they want to charge you $15 a month to warm up your hind end, I'm sure that they would like to charge you to listen to WMOQ, because they're not getting a penny of this conversation that we're having right now.
That makes sense.
So they have tried to weed that out. Well,
did that get squashed?
It did, and it was one of the fastest responses that Washington, D.C. has ever had in the history of the federal government. We went from 0 to 60 in just a few months, and we got enough support in the House and the Senate to push back on that. And what was funny is Ford, they actually flipped their position midstream. They said, whoa, sorry about that. So they did an over-the-air update. So you didn't have to bring your car in to get the AM turned back on. They did it over the air, and the AM came back up in their in the Ford EVs.
So they had actually shut it down.
They shut it down, yeah.
I wasn't aware of this.
And
that is just bananas. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. Our guest, KJ Allen, talking about the business of radio and the future of radio. Let's take one more question before we go to our last segment here. What are some of the misconceptions? We talked about people say, hey, the FM is a dying medium. Mm-hmm. I'm not seeing it. And I see when the importance of this, like I was at the Morgan County GOP last night, how many people I come to that listen to our station. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you have the same thing. Is there anything more rewarding than you're someplace and you hear one of your stations being played either in a car, on a boat, or in the place of business? it is still that vessel to hear people in our community.
Yeah, you say that, it puts a big smile on my face. It was just a few months ago, I was pulling into a parking lot, and I had our station on in Athens playing, and I turned the car off, and I still hear it, and I'm like, what's going on with my radio? It was the guy next to me. Our windows were down, and I could hear it coming out of his car, and I was like, that's very, very cool. So, yeah, the misconception, radio, bad radio is not doing well. Good radio is doing very well and still connecting with people. And, it's great to hear people say, hey, I heard you on the radio, I heard your commercial on, and it's very rewarding.
It is. It's very rewarding. Any advice you give to a young person that's maybe wanting to explore getting into broadcasting?
Yeah. Learn everything you can. I'm lucky I get to speak to a group of students at the University of Georgia every year, and be diverse. Learn everything you can. And this is not only radio, but also TV. I mean, you see journalists now, they put on their own makeup, they carry their own camera, they set up their own tripod. You don't have a cameraman and an audio man. It's you. It's a one-man show. Learn everything. You don't have to be great at everything. That's my story. I'm not good at anything in this business, but I can climb a tower. I can go on the air. I can maybe sell a spot every once in a while. And I have been involved in every little aspect of radio, and I stuff envelopes every month. Just learn a little bit about everything.
How high have you climbed a tower? You just made my palms sweat. I'm scared of heights. That's mind blowing.
I think I've probably gone 150 feet.
No way.
I don't go that high anymore, just because once you get past 10 feet, Mark, when you get to about the 10-foot mark, you're looking down, and you can see that fence post that's going to impale you if you fall off. So that's just as scary. Once you get past 10 feet, it's easy. Just keep on going. But it'll wear you out. You get done, the next day you feel like you've been in a fight.
I think I'd lose my lunch after 10 feet.
No, let's go. We have the tower in the backyard here. Let's go.
No.
Come on, Chastity. We're going to go. Okay. Here we go.
We keep that gate locked for a reason. We're not getting back there. That is frightening.
Keep you out.
Oh,
right?
yeah. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. We come back. We're going to learn about KJ's campaign for Georgia House 120. Stick around.
I've got to tell you about the best kept secret in Monroe for electric wholesale supply, Allen's Electric. Family owned and operated since 1972, Allen's Electric offers a complete line of electrical supply, wiring, breakers, bulbs, heating elements, electric motors, light fixtures, and so much more. Located at 925 West Spring Street in Monroe, stop by and see Brian and Cindy, in business for over 50 years. That's Allen Electric Supply, 770-267-5572.
Serving Loganville and the surrounding area for over 25 years, it's the Main Street Barbershop, 305 Main Street next to Braxton's Auction in downtown Loganville, offering old-fashioned service and modern-day styles. Appointments available and walk-ins welcome. Open Tuesday through Saturday with a friendly staff and atmosphere. That's Main Street Barbershop in downtown Loganville. Call 770-554-3300 or go to mainstreetbarberloganville.com to learn more.
Your land is more than just real estate, it's your legacy. But what do you do with it? Manage it for the future, or is now the right time to sell? For more than 50 years, Forest Resource Consultants has helped landowners answer those questions. Our land management professionals will help create a plan that improves your timber's health and value. Stop wondering and start planning today. Visit frc.us.com or call Shane Boyer in Madison at 770-584-0725.
If you're looking for a caring dental office that can handle all of your dental needs, look no further. Georgia Dental Studio provides routine and emergency exams. Whether your smile needs a gentle exam, a full mouth restoration, or anything in between, they promise to provide you with exceptional care. They do extractions, root canals, crowns, implants, IV sedation, veneers, and much more. Call 770-464-3626. Georgia Dental Studio, 150 Main Street in Jersey, just a short drive from Monroe, Social Circle, Covington, Bogart, and Oxford.
Welcome back. Marc McMain visiting with KJ Allen. KJ, so you decided to take the leap into politics. You're running for Georgia House District 120. That is the seat that Houston Gaines is vacating as he now runs for United States Congress. Tell us about the district and tell us about why you want to get involved.
Well, the district is one of the most unique and diverse districts in the state. I'm very partial to it, but it is very, very unique that you have a large portion of Jackson County, so a big part of East, Central, and Southeast Jackson County. So very rural. We have the entire city of Nicholson, about half of Commerce. And then you get down into the eastern edge of Barrow County, right up to Statham, about halfway to Statham. Then you start moving eastbound toward Clark County. I'll get to that one last. Oconee County, the northeast corner, so
Yep.
2 voting districts of northeast Oconee County, so the Malcolm Bridge area, and then all of Bogart. Athens-Clarke County is the interesting part. So Athens-Clarke County is actually represented by 4 House districts, the way that it's cut up.
Okay.
So the District 120 is the western part, the Jennings Mill area, the former mall. Rest its soul. Who knows what it's going to be? It looks like it's going to be nothing but
I used to shop there when the Sears store was there.
Well, and that's just another one of those times here recently that we have been let down by our county commission and by promises that are unkept, and so many great things that could have happened to that property. And it looks like there may be nothing that happens to that property now.
Yeah, what a
but
shame.
For local people there that have a history with that, it's very sad. But the district stretches on in to a portion of 5 Points, and it's kind of, we have 3 districts that sort of intersect right there in the heart of 5 Points in Athens-Clarke County. And what led me to run, to be honest with you, Houston Gaines. Houston is the smartest guy I think I've ever met. I mean, he is just incredibly sharp and talented. He's been in politics since he was a teenager.
Brilliant legislator.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And such a hard worker, and there's nothing that he's not aware of in his district and in the surrounding districts. And I have just been impressed with him for so long, and I'm lucky that I've been able to have a great relationship with him. And when the dominoes fell, when the House seat opened up because Mike Collins running for Senate, that opened that seat up, and my first thought was, great, we're going to have a great U.S. representative for District 10. And then I thought, what are we going to do in State House 120? What are we going to do about that?
Big seat. Yeah.
And so that was the point. That again, my heart, I believe in Athens. I love the Athens community. I live there. I've been a part of Athens for, almost 3 decades now. And I take the entire district seriously, all 58,000 plus that live in District 120, every square inch, all 4 portions of the 4 counties, they're important. But Athens-Clarke County is where it gets very complex in a hurry. And dealing with the Athens-Clarke County Commission, I was talking to the Clarke County Republicans the other night. I said, here's how crazy I am. My fun back in the 90s, I didn't have TV at home, is I would go to the county commission meeting and watch Doc Eldridge, the mayor, fight with Carl Jordan and John Barrow over stormwater drainage issues, and that was like the biggest problem back in the 90s.
Yeah.
Look what's happening now. I mean, we had the defund the police movement that was in full force 5 years ago, and it looks like that's coming back again. We had protests in downtown Athens. We've had several. We've had attacks on our school systems. We've just another thing that bothers me. I moved to Athens in the mid 90s. We had maybe 6 homeless people downtown.
Yeah.
We knew their names. We
Right.
knew, that is just part of what it was. We got to the point where some of the estimates are over 1,200 homeless people in Athens. And that is not acceptable.
No.
And the county commission, they just do not know how to solve problems. They know how to try to put Band-Aids on issues, but the problem-solving skills have just gone out the window. And luckily, we have some great people that are stepping up to run for county commission and for mayor. Mara Zaninga is somebody I support 100%, who will be a wonderful mayor
I
for
think she's
Athens.
going to be on the show next week. Is that right?
Wonderful person and smart, and she is a fighter. She ran for mayor before, didn't win, and you know what a lot of people do when they don't win, they disappear and you never see them again.
Yeah.
But she's still there, got back on her feet, speaks at those meetings. Sometimes they turn off her microphone. That's how passionate she is about her community, my community. And so, I hope that she does well, and I would love to be able to work with her. And, I have an opponent, a very nice man. He lives up in Commerce. He lives, the end of his street's the end of the district. I think he'd do a great job. But the thing is, you have to know Athens. And I listened to him speak at an event, and he didn't even want to say Athens out loud. He was ashamed of Athens. And I don't know. He didn't want to say it. I will say Athens, and will tell you I live there. I know there are crazy things that happen, but with the right leadership, the right coordination, we can get things in the entire district on a better path.
What do you think your experience is, not just a radio station owner, as a business owner? I really do like when we have elected officials who have lived in the real world.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean they have to own a business to be a good politician. That's not the case.
Right.
But people that have been involved, whether it's working for a company, working for a small business, owning a business, It gives you that real world experience because you know what we're all going through on a daily basis. How do you think that has prepared you to run for office?
Well, like you said earlier, the long hours, the thankless job. I mean, you say, oh, you're the business owner. You make $1 gazillion. Let me tell you, folks, I'm the last person to get paid in my company.
Yep.
And back in the Great Recession, again, our company started in 2005, so we went through 07, 08, 09.
Times. Yeah.
And I got paid $0 in 2008. That was my salary. Zero. So I worked 80, 90 hours a week. What's 80 and 90 divided into $0?
$0.
I made $0 an hour. And so we made it through, but that's part of what gets you prepared, because if all you're doing is saying, we should do this, we should do that, but you actually haven't lived it. I've been making payroll for 20 years now, making sure that people get paid, and we've never missed a payroll. We've never had to do any layoffs. And we've had to tighten up our belts. We've had to make decisions that were right for our company and right for our people. And that's the kind of lessons we need to take to the State House and make sure that our government, because I believe that the government should be even more responsible with money, because it's not their money in the first place.
That's right.
I always hate when people say, "Well, this is government funded," or this is government. No, it's not. Government doesn't have any money. That's taxpayer funded. That's a taxpayer funded. I refuse to say government funding.
It all comes from us.
It's all right.
Yep.
The government's broke. They have no money. If we don't fund them, they have nothing.
Marc McMain, KJ Allen, talking about his run for Georgia House District 120. This is a seat that Houston Gaines vacating as Houston runs for United States Congress. What are some of the important issues that you're hearing on the ground? So when you go to the local GOP and you're shaking hands and you're visiting with voters and you're out in the community and you're talking to people about the issues, what's bubbling to the top?
Well, luckily they match a lot with what I call my 5 points for a better Georgia, and if I can just run down that list, and I can expand on those a little bit. But my first point is respect and civility. Washington D.C. is a mess. It's why they can't even keep the government open. No one can get anything done, and we have to deal with that. That trickles down to us here in Georgia. Luckily, the General Assembly is not as bad as the U.S. Congress.
Right.
Not yet, anyway. I mean, I think there are some people that would like to take it down into that mudslinging part, but it was so great last week to see Houston Gaines up on stage. Next to him was Senator Bill Calcert, who he's stepping up to run for Attorney General. Next to him was Spencer Fry, Democrat, blue, as blue as you can get.
Right.
And there's Calcert and Spencer Fry next to each other, getting along,
having a cordial conversation.
That's right.
Yeah.
They disagree on everything, but
Right.
they get along. So that's important to me. And I hear a lot of people that say, "Hey, can you go get something done and not just scream and call names and run out of the room?" And absolutely, I'm all about that. Just working with people that you disagree with or maybe on a different side. They have a reason why they think what they think, and you can still come together and try to get something done. That's how we got Tim Bryant's show on the air, was working. I had to work with my competitors over at the big giant conglomerate.
Sure.
And we worked and we got it done. I wanted it done within 3 days. It took a little bit longer than that, but we got it done. But one of the other points is getting our property taxes under control. I hear so many people that are just disgusted with the fact that counties and municipalities have no sense of tightening up their budgets or finding more creative ways to bring in revenue. Instead, they go to grandma and grandpa and hit them with even more taxes. They say, A, we're going to raise the rate, and A, we're going to raise your assessment on your property. And we have senior citizens that are paying more every year in property taxes than they paid on their property.
They're on a fixed income.
That's right.
Yeah.
And they say, well, they could sell. Well, okay, and then they're going to go buy an inflated property somewhere else. Why are we kicking them out of their homes? Essentially, is what we're doing. And we have to have relief for property tax. And there are plenty of ways that we can address that. And I think some of those ways are being explored right now. But we have to continue fighting for that, because it's enough already. And some of these counties, and what's really funny is there was legislation that tied in the rate increase with inflation, but then there was an opt-out provision, in Clark County, for example, the school funding, the school tax side of the property tax is just completely out of control. And they're sitting on contingency money as well. So what are they doing with this money? Why do they have to keep pulling more and more out every single year? So that is something I get a lot of folks that are concerned with, and they want a fighter for property taxes. I believe in supporting law and law enforcement, and that's very personal to me, Mark. My mother's a retired police officer.
Wow.
So she went to work, all 5'1" of her, and and I'm not talking about the desk job. I'm saying going into domestic violence calls, going into crime.
She patrolled.
Scenes. She patrolled.
Wow.
She was on the streets, and she didn't know if she was coming home that night.
Yeah, right.
And she never asked. She didn't say, "KJ, I need you to come in here and help me with it." No, all she needed was our support and our backing, and knowing that we have their backs, and the support of the law itself. Clark and Oconee County had the most. Am I allowed to just say whatever I want to say on this show?
If you're talking about Deborah Gonzalez, sure.
She was the most ineffective and incompetent prosecutor in America.
Yeah.
Not only because of not being able to prosecute crimes, she couldn't even fill out the paperwork to get her staff paid.
It was a train wreck, and the stress and the burden that it placed, particularly what I was familiar with was the Oconee County Sheriff's Department, where those guys are going out there and they are enforcing the laws, and then she does not follow up and
and just throwing it out the window. It was completely insulting.
Well, thank God that's been changed.
Yes. And thanks to Houston Gaines and leadership on making sure we have legislation now that if you're a prosecutor and you don't know how to do your job, we'll find something else for you to do.
That's right.
And what's amazing about Miss Gonzalez, nice lady. I've met her several times and she's pleasant, but she thought she was so star-spangled fantastic that she ran for re-election.
Yeah.
And Mark, please tell me, if I get elected and I do as poorly as Deborah Gonzalez, will you tell me and I won't run again?
I'll slip you a note.
Yes, just quietly sit me
or we can have you back on the show and say, dude, you're just blowing
not
it.
Working out. Sorry. And then another point, protecting our schools, protecting our education system, making sure that our students are physically safe within their schoolhouse. This station covers Appalachia area,
yes,
and that was way too close to home, and that was such a frightening day. We have to protect our most valuable resource that we have in this country, and that's our children. They're the ones that are going to be taking the torch from us moving forward, but also protecting from extreme ideology that is on standby trying to get into our school systems to indoctrinate our kids. Our parents, the parents of our kids, need to be the ones that drive the ship of our education. And then finally, just keeping government accountable and efficient, running efficiently. We do a pretty good job of that here in Georgia, but we need to do that with every bill that crosses our desk. If you see a bill, when you get elected, Mark, when I see a bill, we need to make sure that it is effective and efficient.
Well, and it's funny because just what you talked about, too, these radical ideologies are once again trying to permeate. The big one is, I thought that the whole men participating in women's sports was dead. I thought this was a dead issue. No, the Supreme Court actually had to hear oral arguments yesterday. So that just goes to show there is an appetite within the radical portion of the Democratic Party to keep advancing this crazy stuff.
And they'll sit it out for a year or two sometimes. They're on hiatus. It's not dead. These ideas are always going to come back, and they're going to find an opening, and that's the way they do it.
Yeah, no, it's just bizarre. And then going back to the sanctuary city side of Athens, right? That stuff has to end. We can't be harboring illegal immigrants. The homelessness issue is just stunning to me. KJ, I was down in Atlanta a couple days ago, and I haven't been in downtown in quite some time. Mm-hmm. And I took a little bit of a back way to get back on the freeway. So I wasn't on the main surface streets. I was on some of the back streets. And I am stunned as to the homeless population down there.
Yeah.
It is not just doubled. I'm going to say it is quadrupled. Now, I don't know. This is not a statistic. I haven't done the research. I'm just talking about visual perception of what I saw before versus what I see now. And if we're not careful, this is what's going to happen at our doorstep in Athens.
That's right. And going back to Sanctuary City, the mayor up there, they did everything they could to make it a sanctuary city, and then we had the tragedy with Lake and Riley, and then everybody backed off and said, whoa, no, we never said sanctuary city. I believe that we need to have a legal definition of what sanctuary city is. And it says if you meet these criteria, you are legally considered a sanctuary city, and therefore you're going to be limited to funding. You're going to be limited to, there needs to be consequences for that. And so instead of just saying, well, that could be or could not be, we need to say Athens met all of the criteria to be a sanctuary city. And I think making that a legal point, I think, will help us.
It puts fight in place.
That's right, and we'll be able to fight against it a lot better.
Define it like that. I like it. KJ, I greatly appreciate you visiting with us today. This was the fastest hour in radio. It was I love learning about what you did and the things that you've accomplished in this business, and I'm excited for you. I know running for office is no joke. Our listeners, if they want to get involved, if they want to learn more about you, tell them about how they can contact you, and I'll give you the last minute to talk about your campaign and closing comments.
KJ4Georgia.com, KJ4Georgia.com, and you have a contact link that actually has my actual cell phone number on there. It's not a burner phone or anything weird like that. Call me anytime. Let me know what's on your mind. I gave you my 5 points. Give me your 6 points. Tell me what is important to you listening to this radio station right now. And check out my Facebook page. You can email me. So, again, the easiest way, just go to the website first, KJ4Georgia.com.
That's excellent. KJ, I appreciate you joining us today. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you, Mark, and best of luck to you on your campaign.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Working hard. Folks, thank you for joining us today. Hopefully you enjoyed this show. We put together a good one. Chastity, I appreciate all that you do as producer, knocking it out of the park. We're going to have a lot of fun tomorrow. Yes. So, folks, we'll be back on at noon. Until then, stay safe. You've been listening to The Marc McMain Show.